obvious question. Our US tax dollars help fund this genocide, so why doesn't Hassan stop paying taxes?
You say that Ela could have gone to jail and done a conscientious objection instead of joining the army. Why do you pay taxes? Why do you pay taxes to the United States government?
This is your big argument, Ethan?
Answer the question.
That I pay taxes and I'm morally culpable? I know. That's why I try to
why don't
fight
you go to
against
jail?
this goddamn government
Well,
doing
why
this
don't you
shit
stand
every
up for
day.
your hold on? Why don't you stand up for your principles and go to jail for it?
Because it would not actually stop, okay? It would not actually stop.
If Hila objected to being a secretary, it wouldn't stop either. She'd just be in jail. It's just like Noah Sampson wants everyone else to make sacrifices, but they don't want to risk their own cushy lives. I'm using a lot of clips from their debate because Ethan being there to push back makes it easier to point out. But Hassan does this all the time on his own stream. There, Hassan will just make ridiculous claims like the leader of Hezbollah being less anti-Semitic than Ethan Klein.
Ironically enough, Hassan Nasrallah less anti-Semitic than Ethan Klein. I cannot stress this enough. Hassan Nasrallah is less anti-Semitic than Ethan Klein. Ethan Klein constantly makes a conflation between Zionism and Judaism. Hassan Nasrallah, on the other hand, does not. The clip that I was watching about Hassan Nasrallah, who is homophobic and definitely has some questionable perspectives.
Please ignore Ian. He's just here to watch.
In America, you have the major corporations. You have the trinity of oil companies, the weapons industry, and the so-called Christian Zionism. The decision-making is in the hands of this alliance. Israel used to be a tool at the hands of the British, and now is a tool in the hands of America. Wow. Interesting. Once again, Hassan Nasrallah 1, Ethan 0 on the failing the anti-Semitism, don't do anti-Semitism challenge. Ethan Klein failing the don't do anti-Semitism challenge. Hassan Nasrallah winning the don't do anti-Semitism challenge.
But did I miss the part where Ethan thought Jews secretly controlled the United States? Nothing he showed proved his point, yet look at his chat. They think he's a genius. Hassan talks about himself going on vacation like he's Vladimir Lenin fleeing the country.
By the way, I do want to point out something here. This is January 31st, 2025. Was when this video was released. There was something brewing in the United States of America at that point. Do you want to know why I say this? I point out the date. We were already deep into the Donald Trump Burger Reich administration. At this point, I was in Japan, escaping the fascist administration rising to power.
Yeah, the only way he could survive was to go undercover as an anime waifu.
But at this point, it had been 11 days since Elon Musk had dropped the Sig Heil twice.
Oh no, guys, Elon Musk also did something bad 11 days earlier. How dare Ethan talk about Hassan?
We're 11 days into Donald Trump. The reason why I mention this is because Ethan has a lot of issues with figuring out his priorities. If you're freaking out about anti-Semitism on the rise, I would assume that you probably wouldn't make an entire video and use your previously unused platform to attack your former podcast co-host.
Ethan's criticized Trump, he's criticized Elon. So not only is Hassan just wrong, but it doesn't matter. Neither of those things absolve you of criticism. Hold up, guys. Trump passed tariffs. Can't talk about Hassan now. And finally, the most convoluted and annoying tactic Hassan does is the filibuster. It's like a really long, rambly story Hassan tells where he implements a bunch of previous tactics into one. During the content nuke, Ethan criticizes Hassan for downplaying China's treatment of Uyghur Muslims. Rather than dealing with Ethan's actual criticism, Hassan fixates on Ethan saying death camps on a podcast 2 years ago.
None of this even proves your point, which was that you watched a documentary that I suspected was like a Shenyun or Falun Gong documentary that said that there were death camps in China. None of this, none of what he has shown so far has said that there are death camps in China.
That was not the point Ethan was making. In fact, the podcast Hassan is referring to, Ethan immediately concedes that there may have not been death camps.
Don't they have Uyghur death camps? Is that...
It's not a death camp. They were re-education camps, and they are no longer in operation.
Is that
according
true?
to the Associated Press?
Okay.
So Hassan has clip-shipped a point from a podcast 2 years ago and is applying it to Ethan's video, even though that's not the point Ethan's trying to make.
Part of the reason why I don't think that he was able to prove his perspective in the conversation at all is because they weren't fucking death camps, and I was right. They were re-education camps.
By the way, that really just means prisons if you think about it, but we'll let them cook.
I've always been against that. This is the problem. And people will say, Hassan, we got you. You said you would be in favor of re-education. There's a difference between re-educating people who have done crimes in the process of rehabilitation, okay, versus doing dragnets against an entire minority population and mass surveillance against an entire minority population. That is what I'm against.
This is the filibuster. He's not going to engage with Ethan's point, which is Hassan has a double standard for Russia and China because his brand is America bad all the time.
Hassan has happily eaten up the Chinese propaganda on this and has regurgitated it to his mainstream audience. Why is he defending China's genocide of their Muslim population? How does this even make sense? I know America bad is a meme that people laugh at online, but with Hassan, this does actually seem to be the beginning and the end of his analysis.
Two principles. Let me explain to you. Two principles that you should keep with you, coming from a person who's Turkish, okay? Never align with the Western forces.
After 20 minutes of Hassan going on unrelated tangents, he pulls up a stream he did on October 13, 2021, where he read an AP article that was critical of China, and he partially agreed with it.
This is the breakdown, okay? This is where me and a lot of defenders of China part ways. I think that that is completely and wholeheartedly unacceptable. People that unconditionally defend China think it's totally appropriate because they're all fucking extremist Muslims, okay? To me, that sounds a lot like, you know, you're a reactionary conservative, but for China.
He's being so careful when criticizing China. Where's all the screaming?
So when I look at other countries, I look at the regional actor, whoever the regional power player is, and then I look at who is backed by the Western superpowers. That's a principle that you could take home with you. If you want to actually be moral or if you want to be smart about the way you analyze other countries.
And then 1 month later in 2021, Hassan would get mad at the news for criticizing China over the same thing. And he would cite the same AP article for why China is cool.
I wanted to stand up for my Muslim brothers and sisters who are in, concentration camps, are getting tortured and raped every day. And I don't care whoever said which organization or which company.
Bro, the Associated Press literally said, like, not like a fucking, not exactly known as like a pro-China outlet, but even the Associated Press quietly fucking wrote an article that didn't get a lot of coverage in mainstream media about how, like, okay, well, all the concentration camps have been closed now. Like, all the re-education camps are closed now in fucking Xinjiang, and it's, like, very different.
But the article Hassan read said they're slowing down camps because they possibly achieved their goals of subduing the Uyghurs and other Muslims in the area.
Very different vibes in Xinjiang, and now, it's the tourism hour.
So now that we're through that, let's break down how extensive this lie is. Hassan doesn't engage with the point Ethan's making about his positions always being anti-West, even when it doesn't make sense. Instead, he focuses on an irrelevant podcast clip that said death camps. Then he brags about reading an anti-China article he read 4 years ago where he basically has kid gloves on while criticizing China for having concentration camps. And then he ignores how only a month later he was bragging about how great China was for culling the population and closing the camps. No viewer is going to take the time and fact check all of this. So Hassan knows he can just call Ethan's video poorly researched and clip-chipped.
I'll just start out by saying we're 8 minutes in and his research is not so great. He doesn't prove his point at all.
China forced minorities on birth control, forced abortions through mandatory pregnancy tests, and detention camps for having too many children. China's what happens when you successfully complete the genocide, but hey guys, at least they have high-speed rail.
It was literally an Associated Press article that I read talking about a high-speed rail line going all the way to Xinjiang, basically creating this massive network of high-speed rail that was seen as a negative, that was portrayed as a negative thing. People in Xinjiang still have freedom to travel in that regard.
No, they don't. The article he read literally said they don't. This whole segment is Hassan proving Ethan right. Doesn't matter to Hassan, just declare victory.
So one must ask the question, why Ethan Klein refuses to actually engage in any of the things that I'm saying, uses out-of-context clips, and also simultaneously has a very different standard for what China's doing as opposed to what Israel is doing.
You're literally the one doing all of that, using out-of-context clips, not engaging with him, rewriting history. These are all tactics he's done for years, and not just with big things, small things too. He talks about the BDS boycott list. A fan comes up to him saying he needs to stop buying Coke on March 31st, 2024.
I'm sorry, I forgot to say you need to stop drinking Coke Zero on stream. It's boycott.
Wait, is it?
You're preaching pro-Palestine and you're drinking all this boycott stuff. Please, Hassan, at least pretend. Do it off stream. Please.
Okay, I'll put it in a glass.
Then on November 21st, 2024, he finally takes a huge stand against Coca-Cola.
As of today, the Palestinian BDS National Committee, the largest Palestinian coalition leading the global BDS movement, endorses the organic boycott campaign against Coca-Cola to pressure the company and to end its complicity in Israel's illegal occupation, apartheid, and genocide. I will no longer showcase Coca-Cola products on my stream. That means no more Diet Coke.
He then does a New York Times interview that took place on April 27, 2025. And what does Hassan got in his fridge? Diet Coke. This guy is telling his audience how great Disney Plus's show Andor is, even though it's supposed to be boycotted.
I finished Andor last night. It was amazing. It was incredible. What a payoff. What a fucking payoff, dude. I highly recommend it. Obviously, Disney's BDS, so, you know, you got to do what you got to do.
Not to mention, this guy also streams on Twitch, an Amazon-owned subsidiary that is also on the BDS list. But to Hassan, it doesn't count because it's a subsidiary.
Amazon is on that list, but Amazon is not on that list for Twitch, and it's not on that list for a permanent fucking blockade of Amazon and all Amazon-related products, because Palestinian National Committee understands that half of the websites that we are on and that we use AWS as its backend.
He's saying this while thanking his viewers for Twitch Prime's every other stream, only available with Amazon Prime, by the way.
Your contributions in the form of a subscription, that is $6 a month, or a free one in the form of a Twitch Prime, is all that it takes. For free with a Twitch Prime, you can continue supporting the show. Or for free with a Twitch Prime. Or for free with a Twitch Prime.
How can anyone respect this guy? He's telling people to risk jail time by dodging service, but he won't risk moving to another streaming platform. He doesn't tell people to stop using Twitch Prime. He doesn't turn off monetization on YouTube, but he won't even give up the pop he's drinking. These people suck. Even the one thing Hassan admits he's wrong on, he still does on a daily basis.
The first ever React game, when people were getting mad at me because, like, I would have the chair on, and while the videos are playing, totally fucking fair and valid. And for the past multiple years, that's not happened on my broadcast. Like, there are instances where I get up to pee, but it's usually during a video that's playing that's like from a friend or from news and commentary, and it's only for like 30 seconds to a minute.
You reacted to his video and you just
JXC
sort of
maybe?
left. And it wasn't a political video. It was like a
it
fun,
wasn't.
dumb little video. And I think his point was valid. In that
And I
your react to that
apologize.
video
By the way,
wasn't-
that's another thing. I literally apologized to that person instantly, and then they basically like quintupled down and like did this like 8-hour broadcast with a bunch of like random fucking slop tuber commentary people, and I was like, what the fuck? I think this guy's just like trying to farm drama out of this.
He's intentionally lying. He initially responded to Jay by saying he had no other choice but to leave and eat while the video was still playing.
You could leave a sign saying "gone for a dump" back in 5, or could just give credit where it's due and actually react while he's in the room. Doesn't seem like a lot to ask. These motherfuckers are like, dude, peanut bottle, dude. On him, how is it any different than him just watching a YouTube video off stream? It just rubs me the wrong way. Like, how do you think of your viewers to just stream your break? Dude, what am I supposed to do? Die? Like, I don't understand.
When Jay pointed out how immature Hassan is, he called Jay a Nazi.
This is what I said 1 fucking year ago. Since then, he made a video, or they made a video. Afterwards, they had like a bunch of Nazis on the kill stream get together and do an 8-hour reaction to my entire stream.
Hassan has backtracked to call Jay a farmer over this, but Jay wasn't even on that stream. Jay is on Twitter laughing at how wrong Hassan's rewriting of history has been. But the funniest part is, Hassan is still doing all of this. The day I wrote this segment, Hassan was on stream reacting to a video.
I think on Monday we'll have a lot more rested experience on my Warlock and Paladin. So we could put some time in on them. Level them up. That'll be nice. How much longer today? Oh, it's 6:15 already. 6:10. I don't know how much longer.
halfway through and he didn't even know if it was AI or not.
Is this AI?